Hello, Mike Amundsen here, talking to you more about designing and building great web APIs. Now, in the last several screencasts, I've been focusing a lot on testing, so I thought I would do at least another one. And in this one, I want to talk to you about how I write my sad path tests, tests that I expect to fail, tests where I know I want this record to be rejected. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. So here, I'm going to use the same set we were using in a previous cast, working on creating company records. Here's a pretty simple attempt to post a new company record. I'm just going to go ahead and just send this exactly so you can see what the results are like, and then we can kind of take it from there. So it turns out I got an error. And that error because I didn't supply required fields. I was missing a company name, I was missing an email, and I was missing a status. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure when I test my APIs that attempts to create records when there are missing fields returns this error value and this structure that I can take a look at. So this actually, you might recognize this shape. This is actually the problem details type from an RFC from the IETF. You can look this up, problem details. I don't quite remember what the number is, but you can find it somewhere. So I always return this media type and this format from errors. So that's what I'm going to be testing. So that will lead me directly to the kinds of tests that we talked about doing the last time. I talked to you about how I write tests that actually return, that check three things: the protocol, the structure of the message, and the values in that message. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. And you'll recognize this from a previous happy path test that we were working on earlier. So first thing in the protocol section, I want to make sure I get the right status, which in this case should be 400. I should reject this record because it doesn't have the right fields. And the next test is this test that says I should be getting the problem JSON media type back. So I want to make sure I check my content type, and I make sure that that content type includes application whack problem JSON. So that's another test. And then there's the structure test. Remember, I said I want to get this error object back. So I'm going to write my expect test, my assertions, to say I want to check and make sure that the root has a valid error object on it. First of all, that error should be an array. And secondly, every item in that array should have the same basic structure: a type, a title, a detail, an instance, and a status. There's actually a debug value that may show up sometimes, but since it's not going to show up all the time, I don't want to write that as a general test. I might write that special test sometime if I was doing debug work, but I'm not going to do that today. So that's my second step. First I did protocol, then I did structure. Now I need to check the values. So I need to get that actual first element in that array and check and make sure that the type includes error, that the status is set to 400. And in my case, I want to know that it tells me that I'm missing the company name, the email, and the status. So I'm going to say, I want to make sure that the detail message includes missing company name, missing email, missing status. I might actually have just tested for company email and status because I don't know quite what the format is, but I just happen to know that we'll always say missing. So I'm going to do that there. So I'm checking for includes, by the way. Notice all these elements here. So it says includes, includes, includes. I'm looking for that string inside the response. So I may have some extra fields, extra data. They may change the language of the format, but at least it should have this much in it. So that's my values, my structure, and my protocol checking. So now when I do this, send this request, I should have a series of tests, about 7 tests that should work out and test and make sure that I pass. So it's actually 6 tests here. So I get my results of my tests, and sure enough, I pass because it is 400. It has the right content type. It's a valid error object, and the error object is set to the values I was thinking about. So that's the idea of testing for sad paths, testing for 400. Now, I do a lot of these tests. So here's an example I'll just show you really quickly. Here's my sad path folder. So if I was working on company records, I'd do things like checking for bad IDs, whether or not I could actually remove a record. If it was, I would test specifically for email, company, status, general create, duplicate IDs. There's a whole bunch of rules that I should be testing for, a whole bunch of sad paths that I should confirm. So sad path is a really important part of creating and testing great web APIs. So that sort of gives you a sense of what those are like. Now, the other thing that I do a lot is I work in a library. I actually have a test library that makes this easy. So maybe in an upcoming screencast, we'll talk more about my general test library in Postman so that I don't have to write quite as much as before. But that's designing and building great web APIs. Check the bug at the top. You'll find a lot more videos along this in the series and a chance to pick up a copy of the book. This is Mike. You take care. Bye-bye.